If you look at the current baseline of commercial children's illustration, you will notice a distinct pattern. Characters are perfectly symmetrical. Digital vector outlines are entirely smooth. The rendering is handled by algorithms that calculate lighting and shadow without a single error. This approach yields a pristine, flawless aesthetic. But when pushed to the maximalist extremes we see today, that lack of friction creates a problem. An environment where every pixel is mathematically optimized quickly becomes a wall of exhausting visual noise, entirely stripped of emotional warmth. This is the counter-movement. It's an art direction framework called the Handmade Savannah Dreamscape, and it introduces a character named Gilly the Giraffe. You cannot achieve this tactile, lived-in feeling by taking a perfectly drawn digital file and slapping a Photoshop paper texture over the final layer. That approach always looks like exactly what it is, a digital shortcut.
To create genuine emotional resonance across a commercial project, artists have to strip out algorithmic perfection entirely. They have to replace it with a highly controlled, engineered system of physical flaws. Building Gilly requires strict physical design constraints. You have to reject mathematical polygons completely. Her eyes, her hand-drawn eyelashes, and the curvature of her long neck are all built with tiny, deliberate asymmetries. This diagram shows the three-layer line language that entirely replaces standard digital vector outlines. Instead of one smooth path, we are separating the boundary into three distinct components: a dark, warm brown contour, interior pencil hatching, and an uneven torn paper edge. Combining these elements creates the illusion of physical assembly. When the layers come back together, they occasionally misalign. A torn paper edge might overlap the warm brown ink, or a dry brush boundary might extend slightly too far. We see the same principle in her spots. They are built from irregular, hand-painted gouache and cut paper shapes. The watercolor granulation inside them deliberately bleeds past the boundary lines of her body. Every calculated misalignment and overlapping outline acts as a tiny piece of visual evidence. It signals to the reader that a human hand actually constructed the image on the page. There is an inherent danger in this tactile collage style. When you combine watercolor washes, colored pencil strokes, fabric scraps, and torn paper across every single page of a book, you risk visually overwhelming a young reader. This bar chart visualizes the structural, mathematical solution used to balance the book's color palette, the 70-20-10 rule. The foundation is strict. 70% of the image must consist of soft, natural earth tones, colors like cream, sand, and moss green. This grounds the visual field and gives the eye a place to rest. 20% is reserved for richer, narrative-driven colors, like a warm terracotta. The final 10% is a strict limit placed on magical, celestial accents, introducing dreamy shades of lavender and muted indigo. This pie chart shows the exact production formula dictating the physical materials on every page. For visual consistency, the environment uses 40% watercolor, 20% colored pencil, 20% paper collage, and leaves 10% for gouache paint and 10% for ornamentation. Beneath a messy, highly tactile surface, rigid underlying math is doing the heavy lifting. It organizes the chaos, ensuring the final image feels readable, rhythmic, and calming. In this system, background patterns and material textures are never static decoration. They actively react to narrative events. Look at the compositional geometry of the scene where Gilly meets a new friend. Gilly's curly neck and the elephant's trunk reach toward each other, forming a deliberate loop. They are framed entirely by layered, oversized cut paper flowers. Gilly's signature irregular spots physically morph into elephant-inspired circular motifs near the meeting point. Two different aesthetic systems intersect, visually signifying two different worlds connecting. Contrast that bright daytime encounter with a scene of discovering the magical night. The material rules abruptly shift. The environment grows darker, introducing a rough textured paper moon and deep moss foliage, while irregularly placed reflective gold leaf stars are scattered across a deep indigo sky.
By tying the character's emotional arc directly to physical shifts in collage materials, the ornamentation itself functions as a wordless storytelling language. The visual identity achieves a very specific feeling. We see a character painted by hand, a world assembled by hand, experiencing magic drawn by hand. Executing this tactile system requires painstaking time. It demands physical effort to cut paper, mix gouache, and layer dry brush watercolor, especially when compared to the 3 seconds it takes an algorithm to generate a flawless digital image. In an era defined by infinite, frictionless digital perfection, visual flawlessness has lost its cultural value. We are no longer impressed by smooth vectors or perfectly symmetrical rendering. The future of profound visual storytelling relies on intentional, warm, and expressive imperfections. Those uneven edges and visible brushstrokes are the only way left to prove a human being actually touched the page.